Daily Broadside, day 634. I read a lot of books about sports science. I'm fascinated by how all that works. And I'll tell you the most amazing part of it for me is the fact that there's just days, regardless of what you're doing, there's days where you're on and there's days where you're off. And it applies to everything you can think of. I would imagine it applies to drawing and, working clay on a potter's wheel and all that kind of stuff, because it definitely works with music. Obviously works with sports. I mean, there's days where you shoot 1 for 9 from the floor, and then there's days you come in, you light it up for 73 points in a game. It's crazy how you can be so regimented and so good at something, and there's days you just don't feel it. I'll give you an example. For me, there's days where I pick up a guitar. Now, I've been playing guitar since 1989, so 30 years, whatever that comes out to be, 35 years, something like that, since I was 13, right? Yeah, 35. Am I doing the math right? Since 1989, you do the math. And I have literally played millions and millions of notes. I can play lightning fast. I can play slow. I can play all kinds of stuff, although most of it is metal. That's just what I enjoy playing, which is a very challenging thing to play for the most part. But there's days where I pick up a guitar and I'm just automatically like a cross between Joe Bonamassa and James Hetfield. Like I don't miss notes. I play really well. There's feeling and soul in it. It's very easy. It just comes naturally. And that's from hours and hours and hours, tens of thousands of hours of sitting in my room playing guitar to an audience of one. I mean, that's just when you're fascinated by something, that's just where it goes. And then there's days where I pick it up and I mean, you can't play stuff that you normally could play very easily. You're sloppy and messy and nothing comes easy, and it just makes you want to hang it back up on the wall and go do something else. And I find that very, very strange that, regardless of what we do as humans, there's just days where we're off and days where we're on. You could apply it to anything. Firing weapons at a range. There's days where you can shoot the center of the target, and then other days where you're just pulling shots and your trigger discipline's not where it should be. There's just all kinds. And it's anything. It's sports. It's entertainment. It's whatever. I imagine people that do plays have great nights and then other nights where they don't. They don't hit the right notes or they missed a line or a cue or what. It just probably applies to everything that any human could be good at. And it's just kind of fascinating that I could see it if you're like a 85th percentile at whatever you're doing. And some days you're like a 78. But it's like you go from 85 to like 55. I mean, it drops substantially and all. And I wonder, it's got to be the same in my case, like for touring musicians, people that play every other night for 2.5 hours, playing the same songs that they play all the time. Now, that probably makes it a lot easier because, things that you've played a million times, you can play upside down in your sleep. But the more complicated things that you play, like how is it possible that Marty Friedman and John Petrucci, guys at that elite level that most humans will never attain, no matter what, you have going on in your life and how dedicated you are to the craft, you're just not going to be that guy. You're not going to be Michael Jordan. You're not going to be Nadal or Federer. You're not going to be any of those people. That's such an elite thing, It's like Brian Scalabrine says, I'm closer to LeBron than you are, and he's right, I don't know. I don't know what I'm rambling about. It's just fascinating to me. Yesterday marked a great day in my life. And why, you may ask? Because I've made my last payment to the university system that my oldest son has been attending for the last 4 years. I'm done. Of course, he's going to graduate school, but I'm done with undergraduate. It's all over. I get a raise, and I got to tell you, I love my kids more than life itself. Unless you have kids, you just don't understand how you're instantly transformed holding those little bastards. And it's like your life just automatically has a completely new set of goals and a complete new purpose and something to live for that you didn't even know was possible. The love that you have for those little bastards is just, it's otherworldly, and it's impossible to describe. And I'll never understand people that don't want to have kids. It's your choice. It's fine. Believe me, we've got enough people in the world, so I'm not mad at you. I don't think they understand what they're missing. And it makes me wonder if, I've got several friends that just never had any desire to have kids, but I get the impression that some of them got too far down the road, and by the time they were 38, 40 years old, they're like, kind of made a mistake there. Kind of wish we'd had kids. Maybe a little later in life, but we didn't have them at all, and now it's too late. Because they just bring so much to your life. It's crazy. And I'll tell you, I got 2 boys, and they're 8 years apart, which was planned. There's no accidents. And the one that's graduating college, it's so funny because he's so much like me. He's a neurotic, just talks incessantly. It's funny talking to him because you can just sit there on the phone. Yep. And he just, but he is the most passionate person I've ever met. And, it's like they both steal so many things from me because, like me, if he sets his sights on something, he will find a way to do it. And he just does not stop, and he will find nothing to get in his way of getting to be the best at what he's trying to be. And, he is able to scavenge all this natural talent and couple that with the passion that he has for the things in his life. And straight A student his whole life, it's just been a joy to parent and watch and everything. And it's just fascinating. And then I have the other one who is like me, but different. He's stolen and taken things from me that are completely different. He's so much more laissez-faire. He's just kind of go with the flow, but extremely witty, funny dude. Has a great vocabulary. Like as soon as he could talk, he could enunciate words, and people would be like, "Why does he know what facetious means? He's 3." Just always. I think he just picks up things and pays really close attention. He's very analytical, but he's also very quiet and soft-spoken unless he needs to say something. But he'll go with the program, He's a lot more into, like, wearing Yeezys and matching his clothes and all that stuff. My oldest, you give him a burlap sack and he just doesn't care. Those are just not things that are important to him. But if I told my youngest, hey, we're going to go to a glue factory today and tour it, he'd be like, okay, cool. And we'd be going. My oldest would be like, why are we going to a glue factory, and what is there for me to learn from this? How is this going to benefit me? He has to weigh it with what sense it makes in the world. Whereas my youngest is just, sounds cool to me, whatever. He just goes with the flow. He can go with the flow. It's just funny because it makes me wonder, had I had a third son, like, what would he have stolen from me? Because they took everything that I am and just picked the things they liked, and that's what became them. Now, they are both extremely compassionate people. They care for the people around them, and they're very thoughtful and all that stuff, and they get that from their mom. That's not really my bag. But everything else, they've kind of stolen from me. And it's like, what would the third version of this multiplicity scam have turned into? Because I don't have many traits left. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. It's funny to think so. But I will say that, everybody that has kids can relate to everything I just said because you see so much of them in you. And that's just the beauty of it. And every year they get older, you miss them being small enough to hold and, play with in such a little, infant toddler stage and all that, and stuff goes by so fast. But then you find new ways to love everything about them because they're just such awesome little people, and it's great. And the last thing I will say, which is why I'm talking about all this, is I would have been so rich. $80,000 in 4 years, and that doesn't even include insurance and gas and fixing the truck and food and college. Such a scam, but it's over. It's all over, and I get to now put that money into better savings than I have because although I hoard debt and the only thing I owe in this world is a part of a house, I paid for that stuff as we went along, and I don't owe those bastards anything. I just feel it's very unsettling and unfair to start a kid off in his early 20s saddled with copious amounts of debt. Some people can do it, some people can't. But if you can, scrimp and save. Do what you got to do to not give those people that debt, because that's just a horrible way to start life. You want them to be free and be a good citizen without the burden of having all this crap to pay off. But nevertheless, They get him.